Hello, beautiful, ugly people. This is it. A beautiful project I have been working on for the last 6 months.
Like and subscribe if you like the video.
I didn't know how to do any of this 6 months ago. This is entirely all new things. I mean, I knew how to print like parts, but I had took apart an old Ender 3 Pro, completely stripped it, and used a percentage of it to build the machine you see here, and then these parts are printed on. But essentially it's a PETG recycler. I can recycle plastic bottles. You feed it on through here and it's going to go through it and complete. But I'm going to go through the video. Like, keep in mind, I said, 6 months ago I didn't know how to do this, so like, this is no means professional, just a redneck doing stuff. But gonna walk you through the whole process and try to like make it like a how-to video as I'm going through it. But I'd be shocked if anyone watches like my video to build something. But anyways, time to get excited. Alright, here's the breakdown of the Ender 3 Pro. I paid like 60 bucks for this printer. The sad thing is this printer never even, I don't even think, got to be used like it could have been. It's getting used now. And the parts I have left over, I'm going to work, it's going towards another project I'm working on. I'm just going to time lapse through this. I just thought it was cool to see. And at this point, you want to make sure that nothing's, definitely nothing's powered in, everything's unplugged as you're taking things apart. Not just because, I guess things can shock you, but you can fry certain parts by not making sure everything's unplugged.
Understand the concept of love.
And these are all the parts that I printed. It was like 70 pieces or something. Alright, it starts using the gantry, the arms. It's the machine itself slides up and down on. You take those and you put the handles on there first to hold them into place. But if you're sliding these things on, you got to make sure to have one handle off. You can do the battery pack, I guess, a different way. I slid mine on and then screwed the battery into it because I just felt like it was going to break, those plastic strips. And they were really snug, so I had to put some like electric safe oil on it to get them in there. And that's just the battery pack that comes with the Ender 3. You have to put the guards on it. It holds the overall frame together and contains everything. This is the motherboard. You got to make sure everything's assembled. The screws also act as grounding, so it's important to make sure they're not too tight, but on there tight enough. And the other side is the display screen that that's going to go in. That's what allows you, to talk to it and actually mess with it. It's essentially a very simple build. Just if you've never done anything like this, it can be a little complex. But overall, looking back now, seems relatively simple. But I've also had to learn a lot of things like programming BIOS and learning how these stepper motors work, because I was having an issue of it going in the wrong direction. But it's been a fun project. Okay, here's essentially the frame for it, for the power, the plug-in and the screen. I kept putting it in backwards, but I eventually figured it out. And essentially that's going to plug into your power supply on the track. It's at this point I wish I realized that I was building the machine backwards, but I did not until later. Some of these screws aren't really recommended what you're supposed to use. I was just I wanted to see it work. That was my main goal. Then you attach the motherboard in the middle. Everything goes on T-clips. So they're going to clip onto the bottom and slide down. You'll see it at some point. This is where the fun begins. So here we're wiring everything together. I have some displays there to show you examples of what's going on. But essentially you're putting the display cord in, the power for the power block, the power fan, it's in the always on slot, one of the stepper motors, and the heating, the thermostat, like regulator, what actually heats it. So it looks complicated. It's really not. If anything, you're just putting things back where they already went, just missing a large percentage of it. But it is at this point that I wish I realized that I had to build this. I was essentially doing this backwards, or I could have done this a different way, but I pursued on. The part didn't fit, so I had to cut an edge out right here. You can see it, and it actually slid around the power plug. So it fit perfect once I, mutilated it, but it wasn't supposed to be like that. The problem was my power brick. The wires were too short, and it was causing me a couple issues. I call it the heat block, but essentially this is what you have to drill through it. I think it's like 7/8 starting out down to like 1/2 inch. You want it to be big enough to fit the plastic as you feed it through. The plastic, it's only like I think a 1/4 inch thick. And here's the nozzle. It's originally a 0.4 millimeter, but you want it to be the shape of the filament because that's essentially what you're turning in the plastic into. So I lined it up and measured it the best I can. These are the bearings here that you take out of several different places on the printer. They were a pain to get out. Apparently, if you put them on a stove and heat them up, they're way easier to pull out of that plastic. I tried to do it on my printer, but I guess it wasn't hot enough. You also have to sharpen them and grind them down to get them sharp. This is the rail mount. It's where the rod's going to go that attaches your bottle. And as you can see, those are the bearings on the cutter itself after I sharpened them and placed them in there. You don't want them to be too tight. They do rotate. There's also a penny on the inside of it at the bottom. It acts like a base guide for it.
Hold out.
And this is the hot end itself. I've attached it to the same frame that comes with the nozzle. And you essentially put the heat block on. I had to get a new one because my dumb self damaged the other one. I didn't know you could take it out so easy. I thought it was like made into it or something. I don't know.
Okay, so this is where I have the hot end on. You want to make sure you have the rubber sock on. It messes with the heat if you don't. I have it hollowed out. I've attached it to the bracket of the extruder motor. And see, it just goes on there. You bolt it in. Really use like whatever you got. And then that's the power cords for it. Oh my goodness. But it'll go on there just like that, and the fan casing will house over it. You can see where this piece right here chipped off, but it'll be okay. If only this shit was.
So now I finally get to assemble it. The cutter's going to be going on first. Then you're going to have the actual nozzle and the heat block and the fan and all that. I'll plug it in later. The fan's going to go on top of it. I had a hard time with the screw, like how it lines up, so I kind of made do with how I could with the fan just for the moment. And then you have the, I don't know, it's like a guiding piece. It helps pull it along. And this is where the stepper motor goes in with the spool holder. And that's essentially what's going to wind
or pull the filament through as it turns.
Leave you alone, cats.
All right, I cleaned most of it. I need to get this spot again, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut the bottom off. Yeah, a little bit more. Then I have to cut right here. Oh my goodness. And then essentially that's gonna go on that rail.
Just didn't even grab. Oh my god. Just work with me, baby girl. Just work with me. Just too tall. There we go. Alright. Line it up. I know I should fold it. I know that's the smarter move. This thing is not getting the temperature I need it to get. Either this is out of sync or something's not right. I need one of them temperature gauge guns and lasers. I need a laser! It's a freaking shark with the laser beam. So at this point, I had tried several times to figure out what to do. I mean, more or less it seemed simple. It's just the matter of fact of doing it. Okay, enjoy my cute little drawing. So essentially, you know, this is the plastic you want going through it. The problem I was having is that the heat area, the heat sink and the heat brick, it heats it up too fast. So when you get down here to the nozzle, it does this to it. So I ended up going with the cold start, and just essentially when you have it the shape you want it or the thinness you want it, and as it's through, you just pull it through and then you turn the machine on and it'll just continue to pull it through. Because essentially you want it to look like this as it goes through. You want it to have this kind of fold to it. And that's how it's going to go through and like end up as filament. So it will essentially be hollow, I would say. But once you go to print it, it makes it, I would assume, solid. And it's going to go through, I mean, obviously like that. But let's get to it. So this is from my first attempt with the cold start. I went ahead and turned it on. I had already got it fed through how I wanted it. So you'll see here in a second. And just, you have to let it heat up. I held it because it kept, you know, as plastic warms up, it shrinks. So I was afraid it was going to shrink back into the machine. So I held it up and waited to where it, you know, got warmed enough to where I could pull it and manipulate it. And then just slowly fed it through. But this one I ended up rushing it. And you know, I was just slowly feeding it through, but I feel like I was way too aggressive with it looking back. And I just kept pulling and pulling, and it ended up snapping on me. This was the furthest I had got, though, at this point. And that was before the stepper motor nightmare was realized. We got it working. I'm just holding it. I'm going to either screw a hole through it so I can feed it through and it'll lock it in. But either way, it is working. So I had to replace that because the way it was pushing on the entire machine was causing strain, and it wasn't pulling it. It was doing 2 parts, but it wasn't able to cut it. So I had to replace that. I had to replace this gear down here. I had a white PLA one, which is, I mean, it's a great material. It's just very smooth. So it wasn't really had enough surface tension to grab it. So I did have to change that.
There we go. Now it's cutting the bottle, and then it feeds it through the extruder, and then it makes my filament for me. And man, it wasn't turning because this gear, it was down here, but it's very slippery. It's way too slippery, so it wasn't working. So I had to print a whole new gear, and I put this fuzzy skin stuff on it. And now it turns perfect, and it's doing the whole process. I am so fucking happy. Oh my God.
I'll have to adjust that and whatnot. I'll show actually printing with this material in another video. This is like my first actual YouTube video, I feel like. Also, it should be worth mentioning, I guess, that the thing really runs. It's about the same like loudness as a normal 3D printer, I think. I mean, maybe a little bit more louder, just because it's got the bottle going. In part 2 of the video, I'll actually print with the filament. I'm gonna print it on my Ender KE, but I also have to measure it and make sure it's the right width. It was kind of giving me random links throughout it, so I think I'm gonna drill a new nozzle and measure it a little better, because I kind of just eyeballed it. But other than that, it seems to work pretty good. I have it off right now because of the plastic smell. I just didn't want to smell it. I also am going to work on these gears here. I think they could, I don't know, either use a different filament or something. It just feels like it's losing power along the way. And I don't know, I've always wanted to do YouTube. I didn't really know how I was going to go about it. I have like, I don't know, I want to say hobbies, but it's not really hobbies. I'm more just disturbed by the need to do multiple things. But yeah, so yeah, I guess that's mostly it. Here it is. Now, I watched like most of One Piece while building this thing. That's something new I came into. Like, it's been a whole chapter of my life, like, to build this thing, and I'm feeling pretty proud of it. Don't really care if anyone else is. I appreciate support and stuff, like, obviously, but you know, I don't do anything anymore to make someone else happy. I mean, if I can like give $5 to a homeless dude and he go get a burger and that makes him happy, like, that's one thing. But like, I don't know. I feel like any grown adult knows that there's just the wrong people to be friends with out there. But life goes on, and so does my machine. So what is it? What's one I can pull out of air? If I can do something like this, I think anyone can. That's the way I see it. But that's it all. That's it all. All of it. Remember, you too can be a hero. See you fuckers later.